Welcome to the Scottish elections. The Scottish Parliament now has powers to vary the rate and threshold for income tax, and so tax has become a massive issue in the election campaign being fought on that side of the border.
How did we get it on your mind?
The SNP is running a presidential-style campaign with a focus on Nicola Sturgeon. A massive focus on Nicola Sturgeon. Just been handed a Nicola Sturgeon stress ball. Doesn't look much like her though, does it? She's stressing that she won't pass on the tax cut for people on the 40p rate that George Osborne's doing down south.
I've got to get my photo with you though.
And she's keeping the 45p rate. Hang on. Now explain this to me. How come in the general election you said you wanted a 50p rate of tax, but you're not going to introduce one now, even though you could?
I do want a 50p rate of tax, and I argued that across the UK at the general election. We don't have powers in Scotland over tax avoidance on income tax, so if we introduce it just in Scotland, there is a danger that we end up losing money from it because people will, perhaps take their income out of Scotland or transfer it into, say, capital gains tax.
Labour's Kezia Dugdale is shaking things up with a radical range of tax pledges designed to outflank the SNP from the left.
Firstly, we'll reintroduce a top rate of tax, a 50p rate, which will ask those people who earn over £150,000 a year to pay a bit more tax. But that alone is not enough to stop the cuts. So that's why we're advocating using the basic rate of income tax, putting that up by 1 pence. 1 pence higher than George Osborne and the Tories.
And when he's not manhandling people's pets, the Lib Dem Scottish leader is eyeing a tax rise too.
What you get with Liberal Democrats is a big investment in education with a penny on income tax. But what is terribly disappointing in this campaign is the timidity and caution of the SNP. They've been banging on about more powers for decades. And what do they do when they get those more powers? Almost nothing.
To make things a little bit more confusing, the Scottish Greens are suggesting a new 60p rate, and they want to split the basic rate in two.
It's not enough just to say the basic rate would go up or down a bit. We want to break it into two, an upper and a lower band, so that people on a below full-time average annual salary save money from the tax bill, and those who can afford to pay more do so.
Keeping it simple, that lover of comedy photo ops, the Scottish Tory leader Ruth Davidson, who wants taxes to stay the same across the UK. Except her opposite number in Cardiff is calling for a tax cut in Wales.
The Welsh Conservatives can take their own decisions about what they do in the same way that we do here. We would love to, over the medium term, and I've made that plain, aspire to a tax cut for Scots right across the country. But what we're saying at this election is that has to be earned. Those sorts of tax cuts have to be earned. We saw just yesterday from the labour market statistics that we have higher unemployment in Scotland. We've got lower growth in Scotland. We need to be able to grow our economy, increase the number of jobs, the amount of money that's coming in to the pot, and then we can look at tax cuts for people.
They know all about comparing Scotland and England at this shopping centre because it's right on the border.
We're British, I know we're Scottish, but should pay British taxes. There shouldn't be a difference because people will go from Scotland down to England, live there, come back up and work.
I'm thinking of moving back to England if it happens.
Are you?
Yeah.
What are you so worried about?
I don't know, it's just that we're paying more tax if we live in Scotland.
I don't mind the taxes being higher, the 1 penny or whatever it is, because we need it for the schools. We need to invest in the NHS.
If you put the rates up or taxes up, if the money is going to good places like NHS, schools, etc., don't mind because they're desperately needing it.
You're happy to pay more?
I would.
So, welcome to Scotland, where income tax could end up being really quite different. Unless the SNP win, and then it'll only be a little bit different.